Welcome back to the plays of the week. Yay! Yes, this is a good show. We are off and running this year. Little Travis Etienne last week, little Keon Coleman, little Emeka Egbuka. We're talking about players that not everyone is starting, players that have existed on the fringes of rosters, but we believe are very startable this week. Or we're talking about fringe plays that are on the waiver wire that you can go scoop and play this week. This also applies to DFS. These are players that you could get at huge value, either under-owned or bare minimum salary to complete your lineups in various DFS contests. These are the plays of the week. We're not here to recommend playing Jamar Chase. We're not here to recommend playing even Breece Hall. You're playing these guys, right? If he's healthy, you're playing Drake London. If he's healthy, you're playing Brock Bowers. That's not what the plays of the week is about. The plays of the week are upside at value. Upside at value. Now, you could have a player that was drafted in the top 50, like Tet McMillan. We're going to talk about Tet McMillan. He's one of the plays of the week. But I know there are some of you out there that are reticent to push the button and start Tet McMillan because he's a Panther. He didn't deliver last week. And it's like, oh man, I'm going to wait a week and see how he does. My job with the plays of the week is to make sure you're starting the right guys that could potentially be clouded with doubt. And you're going out and scooping plays that some or many may not have realized are great plays this week. So off we go. And this week, we're going to start with quarterback. We're going to just kick it off with quarterback. Stay tuned to the end. The tight ends are the most interesting this week. I have some, and some of them are in the same game. So look out for that. But quarterback, I think this is one of the more obvious starts of the week. But I just want to put it out there. Geno Smith. Monday Night Football. See, Geno's going to be at home. This is a very difficult matchup against the Chargers. The Chargers are coming off a big win against the Chiefs. They are 4-point favorites, but they're only 4-point favorites. And the game total was 47. It's since come down to 46.5. This is a higher game total than most of the other games in the slate. Vegas thinks there are going to be points to be scored and that the Chiefs showed the Chargers are for real. And yet Vegas is saying the Raiders have a very good chance to win this, but they will be playing from behind most likely in the second half. And that is exactly what you want. You want Geno Smith playing from behind in the second half. And what we also saw in week one was weapons. Bowers, the target magnet that is Jacoby Myers. You even saw backup tight end Michael Mayer, one of the better backup tight ends in the league, making plays. And you saw some young receivers stepping up. We'll talk about one of their young receivers as another one of the plays of the week. This is a great game to target, especially on the Raiders side. Start your Raiders. This could shoot out, and it could be a Raiders win. Even though, again, the Chargers are absolutely for real. It all comes down to Geno Smith. He's very available in a lot of leagues. And so any of you that did late round quarterback and you're wondering, hey, who should I stream this week? Absolutely Geno Smith. He's a must start in 2 quarterback and super flex leagues. 100%. Go get him. And the same thing is true with Cam Ward. He is a must start. You might think, well, you need to wait. We gotta wait and see on Tet McMillan. We gotta wait and see on Cam Ward. I know these guys were first rounders, but we got to wait and see. If it's not Emeka Egbuka, I want to wait and see on a lot of these rookies. No. One of the key tenets of this week's plays, picking a few theses. Is that a word? Is it a thesis or a theses? Feels like it should be theses, but it might be theses. Most people have one thesis and one thesis only. Therefore, the plural has eluded me my whole life, apparently. Anyway, Cam Ward. We look back at week one, and you might say, oh, this was an indicator that he's going to struggle all year. didn't deliver against Denver. Or we could look back at week 1 with the following thesis, that what we might have seen, what if what we saw in week 1 was actually the best defense in the league? What if Denver is just a completely smothering defense and Cam Ward just was unlucky in some ways, but he kept them in the game? You watch that game, they were in that game throughout, and Cam Ward didn't put up numbers, but he did take care of the football. And that was a huge positive indicator for him. And now we ride into week 2 and things, because the assumption is that Denver is at least, let's say, a top 5 defense in the league, things are suddenly easing up. And now the Titans are at home against the Rams. And this is the perfect get-right game for everyone. You're starting Calvin Ridley. We'll talk about him in a minute. But in 2 quarterback and super flex leagues, in super deep leagues, if you have Cam Ward, play him. Play him. He has mobility and he has enough weapons. We'll talk about some of his other weapons later. But he certainly is going to be locking in on Calvin Ridley, and they're going to lean on him to deliver. And so he's the under the radar stream, where Geno Smith, I want to lead off with the obvious stream of the week, and then the under the radar stream, the reason you're tuning in is to be reassured that Cam Ward is good. He was unlucky with his first week draw, and now he's going to be off and running, and get right game for Cam Ward against the Rams. I say play him depending on the scenario. Certainly go to playerprofiler.com, go to the weekly rankings and projections. Make sure that you don't have another quarterback that's projected to score 6 more fantasy points this week or 3 more fantasy points, anywhere in that range, than Cam Ward. But if there's any question, I say lean Cam Ward. If you're down in the bottom quadrant of quarterback options this week, I like Cam Ward. Running back. Finding sleepers like Travis Etienne, very difficult. I can't promise you we'll get a Travis Etienne. What we don't like to do with the plays of the week is point chase. You're not going to hear me talking about Quentin Johnston today, okay? But there is a player that I don't believe we're point chasing. I think he scored a bunch of fantasy points against a completely ferocious front seven. And that, to me, was an indicator of what's to come. The coaches in Dallas they've already talked about Jaden Blue. He needs work. Like, they don't trust him. Javonte Williams is the primary back in Dallas, and we're not point chasing. I'm just here to tell you he is a must start. What we saw in week 1 is something you're going to see over and over and over again from him, where he's going to get the vast majority of the touches out of the backfield. And when they're in the scoring zone, the Cowboys are going to lean on him. If there was ever a week to start the Cowboys running back, it would be at home against the Giants. They're only 4.5-point favorites, though. It's concerning, right? Why are we only 4.5-point favorites? Regardless, it's a home game. It is the Giants, and Javonte Williams is a must start. You might be thinking, oh, well, I did draft this other running back. I did. I took Kenneth Walker like 5, 6, 7 rounds before I took Javonte Williams. I think I got to ride Kenneth Walker one more week because I have all this sunk cost investment in Kenneth Walker. No! Come to Jesus on Javonte. Now make sure he's in your lineup. Same with Isaiah Pacheco. Pacheco. You might think, the week 1 usage was concerning. He really split it with Kareem Hunt. I thought he was going to be more of an established primary back. He is. Don't worry. He will reestablish himself. He is healthy, and he is the primary back. He has explosiveness. He has passing game skills. Isaiah Pacheco is at home, and you didn't draft Isaiah Pacheco. Remember, you didn't draft him to bench him at home. That's not a thing. I know the Eagles, again, it's a ferocious front seven, but Javonte Williams scored fantasy points with touchdowns, and that's how Isaiah Pacheco is going to score fantasy points. And I could easily see many of you saying, well, gee, I gotta wait another week and see what this Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco touch distribution looks like in week 2 and then maybe week 3. I'm here to give you the confidence to play Pacheco. Play him in DFS. Yeah, he's playable in DFS, no question. He's going to be under-owned, right? He's going to have low ownership, low exposure, get contrarian with Isaiah Pacheco this week. And Jordan Mason. This is an easy one, right? What do I keep doing? You're picking running backs at home. That's an easy cheat. Yeah, that's the whole point. It is an easy cheat. Jordan Mason's at home. When the Vikings are at home, you play Jordan Mason. When the Vikings go on the road, you play Aaron Jones. That's the way you play a proper grinder back versus satellite back scenario. The best example of this ever was the New England Patriots. Almost a decade ago now. I can't believe it's been almost 10 years, but we had the LeGarrette Blount, Dion Lewis Patriots. When the Patriots were at home, it was a Blount game. When they went on the road, especially in a challenging matchup, it was a Dion Lewis game. That's just how it works, and that is how it's going to work in Minnesota with Mason and Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is the Dion Lewis. Jordan Mason is the LeGarrette Blount of the Vikings, and you are playing him. And you can play him in DFS, aggressively pursue. It could be a 3-touchdown game for Jordan Mason. We'll see. J.K. Dobbins. Right now, J.K. Dobbins, whoa, what's happening here? J.K. Dobbins on the road? He's on the road against Indianapolis? What are we doing? We have a road running back? Yeah, road running. Of course we're taking a road running back. The Colts are, historically at least, relatively soft against the run. We know about their personnel. They do not have one of these super stout front sevens. And the Broncos should win this game. The Broncos are favored, and because they're favored and it is a softer front seven, I believe that it's time to, again, who has a super stout front seven? Actually, the Titans. The Titans do. So J.K. Dobbins is coming off a difficult matchup, is going into an easier matchup, and he was easily the touch leader in that backfield. It was not R.J. Harvey. We are weeks away from R.J. Harvey being a start. So don't rush to start R.J. Harvey at running back. Anyone see what I did? See what I did? Rush to start R.J. Right? Okay. Dylan Sampson. Again, this is not point chasing. This is just a talented running back who led the SEC in rushing yards, the very least last year. Very impressive. But his college profile didn't show this level of receiving skills. To be one of the target leaders on the team out of the backfield, catching passes in your first game as a rookie is incredibly impressive. I'm starting him with confidence moving forward until we get a sign that, okay, Judkins is the main man. Okay, Judkins is not a consideration this week. It's all about, we had this week. This is the week where it's all about Dylan Sampson against the Ravens. Remember, the Ravens gave up 100-plus rushing yards to the Bills and 3 rushing touchdowns. Now, I know some of those were Josh Allen, and Josh Allen is Josh Allen, and all hail Josh Allen, the NFL MVP, and the closest thing to a godlike figure that we have on the football earth. But the Ravens did give up a bunch of rushing yards to the Bills. That's just what happened. So all the more reason to play Dylan Sampson. He'll get there somewhere. He'll get there with rushing yards. He'll get there with catches out of the back. He'll get there. Another play at running back that I like, because primarily it's a home game and I like the matchup, it is Nick Chubb. Now, the defensive tackle play for Tampa is good, but Nick Chubb is getting all the touches. in Houston. He is their main back. There's very few running backs. I mean, Kyron Williams, there's a handful of running backs out there that are getting that touch share that Nick Chubb is afforded. And so you're just not going to find a running back this affordable getting that high of a touch share in all of fantasy. You're just not going to find this, especially a guy who dudded out last week. All the more reason for people to just not want to start him in deep leagues. I can see people pivoting off of Nick Chubb. Do not do that. Go back to him in deep leagues. He is an explosive runner, and he is now more than a year removed from major injury. It is very conceivable that Nick Chubb at age 29 is healthier than he's been in a long time and is just at, let's say, 90% of what peak Nick Chubb was bringing to the table. If that's the case, I'm in. I'm back in. I don't let last week's disappointment cloud my judgment into this week. That's one of the reasons why you tune in, is to help to reset, level set for this week and forget next week. And I'm here to help you do that. I'm here to say, hey, Javonte Williams ain't point chasing, right? That's just, we learned something from last week and we're building on that. With Nick Chubb, what did we learn last week? The important thing we learned is he's getting all the touches out of the backfield, and that's what we're going to lean into, and that's the reason why you're going to keep playing him in week 2, despite the total fantasy points not being delivered last week. Now, Trey Benson, he delivered a big explosive run. He is interesting in super deep leagues, in, big field DFS tournaments. He's an interesting guy to dabble on. Why? Because they're playing Carolina. And if you're playing Carolina at home, there's a possibility that you're in major clock milking mode in the fourth quarter, that James Conner gets rested, and then we get another big, long touchdown run with like 5 minutes to go against backup defenders for Carolina. That is a possibility, and based on that possibility, Trey Benson is interesting this week. I think I can't say very interesting because James Conner's the starter. Like, he's not very, but he, as far as super fringe dart throw type plays, desperation, low salary options in DFS, it's hard to get better than Trey Benson this week. And this is a guy with sub 4.4 wheels. He showed off the explosiveness already this week. And Carolina gives up a lot of fantasy points to opposing running backs. You can see on playerprofiler.com, we have playerprofiler.com up here on the screen. And Carolina gives up, as you can see, defensive matchup there, 7.2 fantasy points above the mean to opposing running backs in the NFL. So that is the most fringe and yet also very exciting play at the running back position this week. And now we'll talk about wide receiver. We'll talk about tight end after this. Earlier this year, I tore my rotator cuff. I had surgery. It was a mess. They said, it's going to be a year of rehab. And I said, okay. I found an app, Fitbod, which lets me plan my workouts, keep the strength of my lower body, but work on strength and conditioning and flexibility of my shoulder. And man, I so wish I had found it earlier. It plans your workouts every day, how many reps, what time of day, even gives you indicators of where your recovery of your muscles is at throughout the week. It has been an invaluable tool. It's something I credit with my recovery. Working out had always been a mystery to me before. Now with Fitbod, that mystery has been solved. Go to fitbod.me. Fitbod.me and use code PLAYER. Use code PLAYER to get 25% off. That is fitbod.me. fitbod.me/player to get your body to where you want it to be. Wide receiver time. What do we got? Well, the nice thing is I can always go to Patreon, patreon.com/podfather, and I have all these plays of the week and all my explanations available there. I can't promise we're going to give you an Egbuka and a Coleman this week. That was we hit home runs last week at wide receiver. We're just hoping to hit doubles. We're just hoping to get on base here. We're not trying to be the number one receiver in fantasy this week. Maybe it's possible. Tet McMillan could do it, right? Tet McMillan could absolutely do it. He is playing the Cardinals. They're gonna be on the road. There's comeback mode will ensue, right? There's gonna be garbage time, and the garbage time didn't help anyone but Chuba Hubbard last week. But that's not to say it's not going to help Bryce Young and Tet McMillan this week. I believe it will. 9 targets in week 1 shows that Tet McMillan is the true alpha there. And any doubts you might have in shallower leagues starting him, please do not bench Tet McMillan in any league. Do not do it. Start him aggressively in DFS. Be overweight. Check the ownership on Roto Grinders. We also have it posted on Player Profiler as well. The ownership at DraftKings and FanDuel, and double the ownership in your lineups. Also, you can play him aggressively in the Super Slam contest at Fast Draft. Like this is the type of play. Now, the Super Slam contest is great. It's draftless, right? The other contests we have, like our Flex 6 Frenzy, that's you're drafting against 9 other people. It's really fun. But we also have this Super Slam game where you can just pick any 6 players, the 6 players you think will score the most this week. That's all it is. It's that easy. It takes 20 seconds to create a team. And Tet McMillan is actually, I think, a guy that you could play at very low ownership in the Super Slam game. And what's cool is when you go to pick your players, we show you the ownership. So you could see, oh, wow, this guy's like 1% owned. I'll be one of the very few people that has him at all. And if he hits, I'm going to be in rare company. And that's the easiest way to win one of these tournaments. One of these DFS tournaments is just to have a guy that hits in a big way at super low ownership. So check out the Super Slam. The code is FAST. Use code FAST on Fast Draft. The code is FAST. You get a $50 deposit match. And we've doubled the prize pool of the Super Slam this week to $5K. And if more people keep joining and demand for these tournaments keeps going up and up and up, we'll just have to keep moving the prize pool up and up and up and up. So that's all good news. Calvin Ridley is another guy that is super slammable. Run it back with Calvin Ridley. It's a much better matchup. And the last time I checked, again, Alec Aomaner is the number 2 wide receiver there. And Ridley did get 8 targets last week. If he gets 8 targets this week, he's going to be able to do a lot more with it. He probably gets even more targets. So I'm going right back to Calvin Ridley. If you're in a shallow league, do not bench him. In even deeper leagues, I'm seeing people considering benching Josh Downs. Do not do that. Sauce Gardner this week will likely match up more with Keon Coleman. Well, that's Josh Palmer. We'll get to Josh Palmer in a little bit. But with Josh Downs, the Jones-Downs connection moves the chains. Because I know that the Denver matchup is not good, right? Look what they did to Calvin Ridley, right? Which is why I'm not playing Michael Pittman. But it makes logical sense that if they're going to lock down these outside receivers, and they're going to be playing from behind, it's very possible the Colts are playing from behind, that what ends up happening is they pepper Josh Downs with targets. Just because Josh Downs didn't get used last week, they didn't need him. They're going to need him this week. He's a safety valve receiver. They're going to need him, and he's going to pile up the targets this week. Josh Downs could go like 10 targets in that matchup just because they need him. And then there's Josh Palmer, right? We talk about our Joshes, right? Josh Palmer, as I alluded to earlier, he's going to be able to dodge Sauce Gardner, right? So these are some of the Joshes, right? It can be confusing. You get them convoluted, right? It's like I'm playing the Joshes for the same reasons, because they're not going to be facing as many alpha cornerback matchups on any given snap, any given route that they run. Sauce Gardner against Coleman, that opens up a vortex of targets in this target-rich environment that is the Buffalo Bills. Josh Palmer is your sleeper of the week. Is he super slammable? No. Josh Palmer doesn't have the upside to really play him aggressively in a smaller field DFS tournament like the Super Slam. But in big field DFS, absolutely, Josh Palmer is an incredible value, great upside for the dollar. Play him in deeper leagues. If you're thinking about streaming, flexing, Josh Palmer is an incredible option. The Joshes. I think I like Josh Palmer a little bit more than Josh Downs. So if we're comparing Joshes, I like Josh Palmer just that much more. Marvin Mims, just keep pushing the button on Marvin Mims. Okay, you might say, oh, well, Troy Franklin outperformed. Okay, is Troy Franklin better than Marvin Mims? No. Marvin Mims is the outside playmaker that can just win deep on a regular basis in Denver. Keep pushing the button. We already know that Evan Ingram's banged up and that the Colts are notoriously friendly to outside wide receivers. Of course you're playing Sutton, but you can play Sutton and you can play Mims this week because it's the Colts. And again, the law of the conservation of targets says that, hey, with Ingram out, everybody wins. Now we have DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin. These are both great options this week. DK Metcalf gets away from Sauce Gardner in week 2, but he's still going to command the defense's attention, and that's going to allow Calvin Austin to continue to operate. Calvin Austin's got a nice little profile. He's fast. He's best comparable on player profiler to Marquise Brown. And they're going to have to throw against Seattle. This is a new and just different looking Pittsburgh team. They're not as conservative with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers wants to push the ball down the field. And Calvin Austin and DK Metcalf, they're both good plays this week. So you're not benching DK Metcalf under any circumstances. And you can absolutely consider flexing Calvin Austin in deep leagues and playing him in DFS. Dante Thornton, though, he's the guy I really want to talk. This is the guy. Dante Thornton got meaningful snaps and routes, like a 60% snap share on Player Profiler in week 1. And they're going to have to throw it home to beat the Chargers. This is a breakout week for Dante Thornton. Runs a 4.3 flat, best comparable to DJ Chark. DJ Chark has had big explosive spike weeks in the past, and this is the first spike week of potentially many that we're going to enjoy from Dante Thornton this week. So play him with, I can't say confidence, right? Like you can't confidently play a 4th-round receiver that's never done anything, but you can feel good about it, right? That's what I'm giving you permission to play Dante Thornton and feel good about it. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is also very interesting. They bring this guy in. He knows the playbook. He's been around forever. Mac Jones has the arm to hit Marquez Valdez-Scantling for a deep touchdown. So if you're looking for desperation plays in DFS, desperation plays in super deep seasonal leagues, this is technically a revenge game for Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So I like that as a deep dart throw play. At tight end, Hunter Henry. Boutte is already hurt. The Patriots will look to throw to Henry to be competitive. This is going to be an underwhelming game. This is not a game I'm targeting. But in some of those games, you might actually just get the most value out of the tight end. Now, a game I am targeting, because you're starting all the frontline elite players. There's a lot of them in Cincinnati, right? Cincinnati, Jacksonville, you're playing ETN, you're playing Hunter, you're playing Brian Thomas, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, but you're also playing 2 tight ends, both of them. Not Gesicki and Noah Fant. You're playing Noah Fant, and we're playing Brenton Strange. That's right. Brenton Strange and Noah Fant. Noah Fant and Brenton Strange. Brenton Strange was the week 1 receiving leader, so he's already established himself as one of the trusted options there. Noah Fant out-targeted Mike Gesicki. I'm leaning into that. This has the highest point total on the slate. No surprise, 49 points. Playing a Strange, playing a Fant gives you access to those fantasy points. And then finally, we alluded to it, if we're playing Cam Ward and we're playing Calvin Ridley, we also are going to be playing, that's right, Chigakonkwo is my sleeper tight end of the week. He is best comparable to Jermichael Finley. Jermichael Finley had some huge games, if anyone remembers who Jermichael Finley is. And things are just setting up for Chigakonkwo to have a breakout year. And essentially, week 1 is the ultimate mulligan for all of our Titans. And we can lean in and play them this week. That is my recommendation. Chig being the best value of them all. And that is the plays of the week.